Hola, soy yo, Vicki, otra vez. Let's try again. I tried to do this live stream and my video went off and I didn't know how to get it back on, but I think I've sorted it now. So, en el video de hoy, in today's video, vamos a mirar, we're going to look at how you say time in Spanish. ¿Cómo se dice time en español? Y esto es un video realmente para estudiantes de español, pero si estás estudiando inglés, es útil también. It is really a video for people who are studying Spanish, but if you're actually learning English, you may find it useful as well, because I will be speaking in English as well. Okay, so yes, as I was saying, a lot of my students get confused about the word time in Spanish, because in English we only have one way of saying time. A long time, what time, or how many times. In Spanish, we have 3 different words, and I'm going to put them in the chat. So the first way of saying time in Spanish is hora. We're going to look at hora, and hora is feminine. La hora. Should come up in chat. Let's see if I can do it. Yeah. So la hora. Now, la hora is clock time. We use la hora for clock time. So if we're saying what time is it, or at what time, etc., we use la hora. The second word we're going to look at some examples shortly. The second way of saying time in Spanish is vez, also feminine, la vez. So, vez is how many times you do something, or the first time, or the last time, or any time. So, this is a completely different word from hora. It means a completely different type of time. So, again, we will be doing examples. So, vez, la vez, notice that it's la vez with a Z on the end, but when we make it plural, it becomes veces, times, which is VECES, okay? And the third way that we're going to be looking at is tiempo, probably maybe one that you know, most people know best, el tiempo. Now, el tiempo, masculine, is a period of time, how long you do. So not how many times, not at what time, but how long, how much time you spend on something or you do something. And it also, just to make it everything even easier, it also means weather. So we use tiempo when we're talking about the weather. And for those of you who have studied any Spanish or any other language, grammar, it's also the word we use for tense, like present tense, past tense. You know, tiempo pasado, tiempo presente. So, yeah, el tiempo is a period of time. It's the weather, or it's a tense, as in grammar. Don't worry if you don't really understand tenses. You might need some classes for that. But, okay, so that's our 3 ways of saying time. La hora, la vez, and el tiempo. And the only reason I've put the L or the la in front of them is to show you if they're masculine or feminine. We don't use them all the time when we're saying the words. Okay, so before I start looking at the examples, I just want to tell you that if you are interested in learning Spanish with me, you know you can always learn at home with the Break the Language Barrier series. I've 1 to 5 now, 5 different levels. And you can combine them with classes with me over Zoom or here in the classroom in San Miguel de Salinas if you live nearby. So, but let's get on to the examples. So, hora. Hora is clock time. So, an example would be, what time is it? So we won't say ¿qué tiempo es? We say ¿qué hora es? Now, hora actually means hour. So we're literally saying, what hour is it? ¿Qué hora es? Okay. Another example is if we were asking what time is the class. ¿A qué hora es la clase? And actually, I'm just thinking I can probably put these examples down at the bottom. So, oh no, it might get too complicated and it might turn my video off again. So I don't want that to happen. So, ¿a qué hora es la clase? What time is the class? And then another example, number 3, the third example we're going to look at. What time shall we meet? Now, some of you may or may not know that the verb to meet up is quedar. So you'd say, ¿a qué hora quedamos? What time shall we meet up? Okay, so you wouldn't say, ¿a qué tiempo quedamos? And then number 4, the example, I want to know the exact time. This is the example, and we would say quiero, I want, to know, saber, the exact time, la hora exacta. Okay. So, quiero saber la hora exacta. I want to know the exact time. The 5th example we're going to look at is if we were saying it's nearly time for dinner. Yeah, it's nearly time, or the time, nearly dinner time, I suppose we'd say, wouldn't we, in English? So, casi es la hora de cenar. Casi es la hora de cenar. And then number 6, if we were saying, another example we might say, this time using it as hour rather than time. There are 24 hours in a day. Hay 24 horas en un día. Now remember, if you have any questions, you can ask me on chat and I will do my best to do the technology to answer them. Well, I don't need technology to answer them. I can just say it on the live stream. So that's quite good. So yeah, any questions, please ask. So, casi es la hora de cenar. So if we're saying it's nearly dinner time, we'll say casi es la hora de cenar. And what's the next example? Yeah, so the breakfast time it uses, the next example. For me, 8 o'clock in the morning is breakfast time. Yeah, yo siempre desayuno a las 8 cada mañana. It's like practically, exactly at that time every day. I don't know how that happened. I used to just eat as and when, but it tends to be 8 o'clock. Cada mañana a las 8. So para mí, las 8 de la mañana es la hora de desayunar. ¿Y tú? ¿A qué hora es para ti? So yeah, let me know what time you normally have breakfast. ¿A qué hora es la hora de desayunar para ti? Okay, and then number 8, the example is, it's bedtime, it's time to sleep. Es la hora de dormir. Yeah, es la hora de dormir. It's time to sleep or it's bedtime. You could say es la hora de la cama también. Okay, the next example, this time again, what time? ¿A qué hora empiezas a trabajar? What time do you start work? So we wouldn't say ¿a qué tiempo empiezas a trabajar? We say ¿a qué hora empiezas a trabajar? And the last example using hora is he came to my house at lunchtime. So we would say vino, he came. For those of you who are who've done the past tenses, some of you watching this video might not have done past tenses. Pero vino a mi casa a la hora de comer. He came to my house at lunchtime. Now, I know there's been some of you out there, but you're not asking any questions, but please ask a question if you feel like it. Okay, so the second way that we are looking at time, or the second way in Spanish we can say the word time, is vez. Vez, as we were saying earlier, V-E-Z. Yeah, la vez, it's feminine. So we would use this word is used for time when you talk about the number of times you do something, or the first time, the last time, the only time. So, la última vez que fui a Inglaterra, for example. The last time I went to England. La última vez que fui a Inglaterra. And then you might have the first time that I came to Spain. La primera vez que vine a España. The first time I came to Spain. Maybe you want to say the next time. La próxima vez. The next time I'm going by train. Quiero, eso es verdad. Quiero ir a Inglaterra in tren. I don't know if I'll ever end up doing it, but I'd quite like to. So, if I do it, I'll be doing lots of live streams, like all the different places. I always have these ideas that I never do, but anyway, I'd like to do it. So, la próxima vez voy en tren. Next time, I'm going by train or in a train. Okay, and this is like if you were saying many times. So, our next example, he ido a Granada muchas veces. I've been to Granada many times, which is true. Me gusta mucho Granada. He ido a Granada muchas veces. And then our next example, salgo a pasear una vez al día. I go out for a walk, or I go for a walk once a day. Una vez al día. If it was twice a day, it'd be dos veces al día. If it's 3 times a day, it's tres veces al día. So, salgo a pasear una vez al día. Okay, number 6. I go to the supermarket once a week. Voy al supermercado una vez a la semana. Voy al supermercado una vez a la semana. I go to the supermarket once a week. Okay, a ver. Una vez, so this is the next example. Una vez al mes, once a month. Comemos paella, which is more or less true. I like to make paella every now and again. So, una vez al mes comemos paella. A ver, the next example. Una vez al año celebro mi cumpleaños. Don't really celebrate it these days. Not too old now, but I do have a birthday. So, una vez al año celebro mi cumpleaños. Once a year I celebrate my birthday. And then número 9, me cepillo los dientes 2 veces al día. I brush my teeth twice a day. So, me cepillo los dientes 2 veces al día. So, I just got a message through that. I've got to check it because it might be something to do with this. A ver. Yes, it is. So, sorry, every now and again I might have to, that's what live streams are for, I suppose. Okay. So this one, let me just go to it. Okay, so the last example using vez is how many times. If you're asking how many times, you would use veces. Now, remember I said to you that vez is the singular, V-E-Z, but the plural is veces, V-E-C-E-S. And you would say, if you wanted to ask someone, how many times have you visited Spain? So you would say, ¿cuántas veces has visitado España? Okay, vale, so that's vez. So we've looked at hora, we've looked at vez. If you missed hora, you can go back to the beginning of this video once I've finished the live stream, see when we use hora. We've gone through when we use vez to say time, and now we're going to look at tiempo. So tiempo is more a period of time, you know, how long we do something. So it's not like clock time, what time is it, which was hora. It's not vez, which is how many times we do something. It's a period of time. And of course, we also use it for weather. So weather is, so it makes no logical sense whatsoever, but there you go, that's languages for you. So tiempo can be a period of time, it can be the weather, and it can also be a tense, as in grammar, like present tense, past tense, future tense, etc. So yeah, it's got three completely different meanings that don't have any connection really. But let's have an example. So if we were to say, oh, and it can also be a point in time. So if we were to say, they always arrive on time. So this is where we would use tiempo. Siempre llegan a tiempo. They always arrive on time. Siempre llegan a tiempo. Remember, if you're out there watching, you've got a question, you can, I think, send me a question. I'm not sure how, maybe you know how to do it, but if you do send me a question, I will try my best to answer it. So, siempre llegan a tiempo. They always arrive on time. If you wanted to say it was a long time ago, these are the sort of expressions, aren't they, that sometimes you want to say and you just can't think of how to say it on the spot. You have to learn these just as expressions, really. But a long time ago, you would say, hace mucho tiempo. So, hace mucho tiempo viví en Inglaterra. A long time ago, I lived in England, for example. Or, hace mucho tiempo compré mi casa. A long time ago, I bought my house. So anytime you want to say a long time ago, you would say hace mucho tiempo. Okay, then another example, using a similar example. See if you can work out what this means. Tenemos que esperar mucho tiempo. Tenemos que esperar mucho tiempo. So, do you remember what tenemos que means? So, tenemos que is we have to. Remember that tener que is obligation, to have to do something. Tenemos que esperar. I bet most of you probably know the word esperar, unless you're absolute beginners, because we have to do a lot of esperar in Spain, a lot of waiting. So esperar is to wait. We do see it like in the banks and the shops, etc. Esperar aquí or etc. So tenemos que esperar mucho tiempo. We have to wait a long time. Okay, then another one. How long? Now, quite often you want to say how long, and the temptation is to say como for how and long, largo. Como largo, how long. No, it's nothing like that. To say how long, as in time, not like the length of something, but as in time. ¿Cuánto tiempo has vivido aquí? For example, how long or how much time, literally, have you lived here? ¿Cuánto tiempo has vivido aquí? So you would always say that, not como tiempo, como largo. Right, so let's have a look at a way we would use it as far as weather is concerned. If we wanted to say, oh, what's the weather like? Yeah, or what? That's the only way we say it in English, isn't it, really? What's the weather like today? Well, in Spanish, you would say, ¿Qué tiempo hace? Do you know? I don't know. Obviously, I don't know who's watching this and what level of Spanish you've got. But if you've done a little bit of Spanish, you might know that we use the verb hacer to talk about the weather. We don't say what's the weather like. We say, what weather is it making or is it doing? Because hacer is to do or make. So, ¿qué tiempo hace? And you would say, hace sol, hace frío, hace calor. It's sunny, it's hot, it's cold. So we use the verb hacer to talk about weather in Spanish, and weather itself is tiempo. So, ¿qué tiempo hace? What's the weather like? Well, I don't know where you're watching from, but here, el tiempo hace un poco frío en la casa. It's always cold in the house in winter in Spain. Pero hace sol. It is sunny. It's very sunny today, actually. So later, you have to go outside for a warm up. This is the time of year where you're cold in the house and warm outside the house. Okay, so That's weather. So number 6, this is time, a period of time. See if you can understand what this means. You may not know this expression, I care. Hayque. I que estudiar mucho tiempo para ser abogado or abogada. Claro. So, hay que estudiar mucho tiempo para ser abogado or abogada. Now, I que is a handy little expression. As I say, it's Hay, and then another word, Que. I care. It means it's necessary to. So it's a good little expression because it doesn't go masculine or feminine. You don't have to conjugate it. You don't have to think about whether it's singular or plural, all those other things that we normally have to think of in Spanish. Hay que, it's necessary. So you might say, hay que beber mucho agua. Hay que comer verduras. Hay que hacer ejercicio. This particular example that I was reading out to you is hay que estudiar mucho para ser abogado. So it's necessary to study a lot to be a lawyer. So abogado for a man, abogada for a woman. Okay, the 7th example using time. No tengo tiempo para estudiar. So many of my students say this, it's like me with the gym, you haven't got time. Well, you have really, but you just don't want to. So, no tengo tiempo para estudiar. I don't have time to study. Vale, so yeah, that's like the dog get the homework type of excuse, isn't it? And then number 8, no hay bastante tiempo. That's another similar example. No hay, remember this little word I, if you've done any Spanish, you probably know this word, Hay, on its own, there isn't. Bastante means enough, and tiempo is time. So no hay bastante tiempo, there's not enough time. Okay, now using the tiempo, very similar to what we did in an earlier example, which was hace mucho tiempo, like a long time ago. This is another way we can use hace mucho tiempo. So let's see if you understand what I say. Hace mucho tiempo que estoy en España. Hace mucho tiempo que estoy en España. So, it's impossible to translate it word for word, but if we take it as a whole sentence, basically that is, it's a long time that I've been in Spain, or we would do it completely the other way around and say, I have been in Spain a long time. In Spanish, they're saying, hace mucho tiempo que estoy en España. It's very different from the way we'd say it. So you might say, if you've been, in your profession, let's presume you're a policeman. So let's say, or woman, of course, a police person. Let's presume that you've been a police person for a long time. So you'd say, hace mucho tiempo que soy policía. Yeah. Or if it hasn't been a long time since you've been a police person, no hace mucho tiempo que soy policía. So notice we use the present tense, soy policía. Okay, and the last example of the verb tiempo, the word tiempo is a similar example, if you like. He querido visitar a Alemania mucho tiempo. He querido visitar a Alemania mucho tiempo. Do you understand what that means? So, he querido, I have wanted to visitar a Alemania, Germany, mucho tiempo. It's true, es verdad, me gustaría visitar Alemania. Hablo un poco de alemán y quiero practicar. Pero bueno, so that's the last example of the verb of the word tiempo. So let's just do a little recap of the 3 words. Hora for clock time. Vez for how many times, first time, last time, only time. tiempo for period of time, length of time, or weather, or a point in time. So, and let's just whiz through the examples. So, hora, ¿qué hora es? ¿A qué hora es la clase? ¿A qué hora quedamos? Quiero saber la hora exacta. Casi es la hora de cenar. Hay 24 horas en un día. Para mí, las 8 de la mañana es la hora de desayunar. Es hora de dormir. ¿A qué hora empiezas a trabajar? And the last one for hora, vino a mi casa a la hora de comer. That's hora. So let's look at the number of times. The examples. La última vez que fui a Inglaterra. La primera vez que vine a España. La próxima vez voy en tren. Espero, dedos cruzados. He ido a Granada muchas veces. Salgo a pasear una vez al día. Voy al supermercado una vez a la semana. Una vez al mes comemos paella. Una vez al año celebro mi cumpleaños. Me cepillo los dientes 2 veces al día. ¿Y cuántas veces has visitado España? So remember that hora and vez are both feminine, so it's cuántas veces. And then the last of all, tiempo, the period of time, point of time, or the weather. And our examples are, siempre llegan a tiempo. Hace mucho tiempo. Tenemos que esperar mucho tiempo. ¿Cuánto tiempo has vivido aquí? ¿Qué tiempo hace? Hay que estudiar mucho tiempo para ser abogado o abogada. No tengo tiempo para estudiar. No hay bastante tiempo. Hace mucho tiempo que estoy en España y he querido visitar a Alemania mucho tiempo. Well, I hope that's helped with you understanding the difference, the 3 different ways of saying time in Spanish. Remember, if you're interested in learning more Spanish, you can buy my books online, the Break the Language Barrier series. Also have some bilingual books, storybooks on there. And of course, if you are interested in the reasons why I came to Spain, there's also the Confessions of a Spanish Teacher. But they're all on Amazon under Vicki Riley, Vicki with an I. Okay, what next do I need to say? Yeah, thank you. Gracias. Gracias por mirar, and look out for some more live streams. If there's anything you particularly would like explained, please drop me an email or a message, and I will do my best to do a video to explain whatever that theme is. So, gracias, y como siempre, te veo muy pronto en el próximo video, and a special thanks to the ones that have put up with me through this live stream. So, gracias. Hasta luego. Que tu Dios vaya contigo. Adiós.